pronounced. Congratulations for making it this far. Best of luck.
Hi, my name is Martin. All the best to you guys.
Okay, amazing. So on to the speakers for this final team prop.
Personal pronouns and POI preferences are going to be revealed later, but first speaker is Annabelle YD Lee. Second speaker is Jacob Sung. Third speaker is Yoon Sung Kim. And fourth speaker is, again, Annabelle YD Lee.
Okay, team up. Team up.
Our first speaker is going to be Sean Lee, and our second speaker is going to be Daniel Kwan, and our third speaker is going to be Jae-hoon Jung.
Okay,
And our
amazing.
I is going to be Sean Lee again.
Okay, I think we should be good to go then. Speakers ready, judges ready. Prime Minister, the floor is yours.
Am I clearly visible and audible?
Yes.
Personal pronouns, she, her. Verbal POIs, if any. Speech will begin in 3, 2, 1. You don't have to be the next Elon Musk. You don't have to have a multi-billion dollar company to be happy. What does glorification look like and what is its function? Glorification means that most people have a definite goal of what kind of things that they want to achieve in life. It functions to take down the narrative that high life is basically the best, because that oftentimes leads to overambition and that can destroy a lot of people's futures. So our side glorifies a stable future where you don't really have ups and downs, where a lot of people inhibit these behaviors as well. Two contentions. First argument on the problem analysis, right? 3 things I want to say here. Firstly, note that a lot of people in the status quo try to be too much with a dominant narrative that high life is the best. That means that you're unrealistic, you're unproductive, and that's detrimental to the individual because you're wasting your life trying to be the next Elon Musk when you play Fortnite 7 hours a day. It means that you're trying to spend all of your life savings trying to earn a multi-billion dollar company, but it backfires. More importantly, the glorification of high life turns a blind eye to spending time on doing things what's really important, right? That includes non-material things like spending time with your family or doing the job that you're passionate about, even if it doesn't pay as much. These kinds of narratives that high life is the best basically discourages these kinds of good behaviors as well. So why does this happen? People in the current status quo are disillusioned by the media and they're just irrational. They choose to pursue being too much or being too little. They choose to pursue this is the problem that directly persists under their side after this point. When we choose to pursue a mediocre life, this means that you actually set things down and thus you're able to live a more productive life, which is going to explain even more in my second argument, right? But before my second point, yes.
Was the COVID vaccine provided by mediocrity?
I mean, that's true. I mean, we still have a lot of innovative individuals. You can be a mediocre, you can be a mediocre in a certain vocation and such, right? We're not trying to make people mediocre or anything. We're saying mediocre life is basically a good thing. Secondly, it's either that or people try too little, right? They don't work hard because there are no ambitions and there's no social pressure. This looks like people just getting Fs, playing games at school and just giving up. The glorification of a mediocre life just outweighs all instances, right? This is since there's an actual definition to how life should look like. Thirdly, you will always be surrounded by jealousy because you're going for a higher goal, basically a toxic competitive atmosphere, like surgeons being blamed for killing a patient. This will eventually discourage you to aim for that goal in the first place because of that pressuring atmosphere. And this probably will lower like one's productivity as well. But on our side, we're able to solve this problem, right? No, we're able to give people a normal life without anyone trying to take you down. For example, look at idols. They're figures that get all the public's attention, but as much as that, they get a lot of judgments and hate because of their popularity. This is the same for the situation here. People who are aiming for impossible goals to achieve in society will obviously get hate and obviously end up being discouraged at the end of the day. So if our goal is to make citizens happy, aren't we supposed to make people feel happy and feel accomplishment instead of making them feel anxious and discouraged? Not everyone has to pursue a goal that makes them have a lot of salary, right? Please stop bombarding. Second argument on how it makes for a more productive life. Also later, firstly, how is it good for the happiness of the individual, right? There's a clear goal because the word mediocre is the set definition. The goal is an A, not an A plus. It's a gamble, like innovations and stuff, just like the POI that Daniel mentioned, right? A goal is $70,000 a year, not $500,000. A definite goal helps you be productive and understand the kinds of things you sacrifice. Mediocre is the most common approach. Peers and whatnot have personal experience. So since it's a tangible definition, it directly prevents people from having overreaching or underreaching goals that prevent them from reaching stability, like making the next COVID vaccine or something, right? Plus, that leads to them spending time on good things like their family and such, and they receive respect for having a stable life that they enjoy, right? Over glorifying a high life isn't really good either. Next speaker, please respond to this, right? Secondly, we say that now people are more encouraged to pursue the goals that they have, right? Because people, as they actually have a basis or a set goal on something to build on, we say that it's much better than living a high life or a low life anyway, because they have an extremely tangible goal. And for these reasons, I'm very proud to propose.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for that fine speech. I invite the leader of all.
Before I start my speech, can I have a couple of seconds to wrap up my notes?
All right.
All right, so preferred pronouns are he, him, preferred POIs verbally. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Proposition may be satisfied for a grand finalist title, an achievement that isn't too bad, but again, not the best. But opposition will work and push ourselves and escape mediocrity and take risks to achieve a far better title, the champion. So probably on the championing side of today's debate. Firstly, I'll just clear up how glorification looks like in our world, right? A, it looks like people doing the bare minimum of their job, right? It looks like people not taking a business opportunity because they're too risky, they don't want to work that hard, or complacent. It doesn't look like people not taking chances for a promotion. They're scared of like getting demoted, right? It looks like people not going to the debate tournament because they're scared of losing money and not winning. Looks like people are refusing and are scared in a like neutral status of not being able to do any major achievement. Also, it looks like things like relationships, right? Like a deep relationship and like romantic relationships, etc., between partners require failure and adjustments in itself. A mediocre life itself does not support a good relationship because obviously the commitment itself for relationships requires lots of failures and adjustments. Their side does not support this. Therefore, we believe that meaningful relationships is unlikely to happen in their side of the world. Right. Another clear clarification I want to point out is they will not look to be the next Steve Jobs or the next Elon Musk, right? Obviously, what we are saying, they want to like achieve a goal, achieve like a success that are better than themselves, but obviously their case is extreme in this regard. They also explain how their main character and mediocrity would be people who want to achieve a goal, right? But the problem here is people trying to achieve a goal itself leads to failure. Because obviously, if you try to achieve something, you'll fail, right? The idea of mediocrity itself that you don't fail. First of all, they're contradicting from the very first speaker. But even if because of this idea, we believe that mediocrity does not stand the end of the day. Our main argument about complacency and no delta, right? A, just people are likely to be complacent under their side of the world. 3 layers here. Firstly, glorification of mediocre life fundamentally dictates a lack of innovation and work, right? It makes people fall under the notion that, oh, living mediocre is okay. It's okay to do the bare minimum. People in school start to be like, oh, C is a passing grade. Oh, B is a passing grade, right? I don't need to work to get an A+. I don't need to work to get a 4.0 GPA. It'll cause the stretch to be too much, right? People begin to put in bare minimum, like they'll be like, oh, not even because of the notion of, oh, you don't have to try, right? Permeates throughout society and like don't risk it itself permeates at the end of the day. What will this look like? What will this cost? Firstly, people will never really get out of their status and their poverty cycle, right? Because they aren't afraid to make these big leaps and that actually get them into a better position. These poor and these these poor and these middle classes don't make the leaps, don't make the risk, don't make the hard work to put them in a better place. Therefore, it makes them put in a rock in a hard place, right? So they're unwilling to risk and go against. Secondly, they're only willing to risk and go against oppressions and society in general, right? Because obviously they'll conform to gender norms, they'll conform to societal issues like racism, like sexism, because they are afraid, they're scared to risk, like fight against it. No, thank you. They're scared to fight against it because they think if they do, they're gonna get shut down by the big powerhouses, by the big oppressors of the government at the end of the day. Therefore, because obviously breaking against societal norms is not a mediocre life, they don't achieve this major benefit, they don't achieve delta regarding this idea on their side of the world, right? Because people are unwilling to risk it and stand up against the issue because it is a risk, and therefore they achieve very little net benefit in regards to solving like sexism and racism. No, thank you. So our movement, however, will work like effort. They'll focus on putting in effort, and eventually we'll be able to achieve many more benefits because people are actually incentivized and are willing to take risks. But also innovation. Judge, things like COVID-19 are going to happen on both sides at the end of the road, right? A proposition needs to understand is that every stepping stone for society progress requires trial and error. Thomas Edison made his light bulb after 999 failure tries, and like COVID-19 was made after like 50, 60 failed prototypes. All these things require hard work. All these things require lots of trial and error. Like PM tried to qualify by saying there'll still be people who work hard in both worlds. We need a majority of people to still work hard. If the population is mediocre and they're not willing, they'll be scared to take the vaccine too, right? Because they'll think, oh, what if I take the vaccine? The anti-vaxxer is saying I might get like a disease or cancer. I'm kind of scared to make the risk. Because of that, they will likely to not do these things. They're actually these risks that are necessary for improving society at the end of the day, right? But the counter thing here is working hard and taking risk makes for a better life, right? Because even if, for the most part, working hard and taking some risk will put you in a better place than before. Because obviously, when you don't work hard and you do work hard, you'll be able to gain more net benefit, gain more skills, and when you do work hard. So you believe for the most part, people will do better in our world. But even if we die to bullet and say some people will still fail in our world, failure is needed for innovation. It's the mother of success, right? Therefore, in our world, people are able to achieve more success later on in life. So proud to be on side opposition.
You read off for that fine speech. I'll invite the second prop speaker.
Okay. Am I visible and audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you so much. And my speech will start in 3, 2, 1. The comparative is simple. In the short term, maybe a mediocre life makes you lose your identity or whatnot, whatever opposition harms claims to be. Yet in the long run, you can pursue higher things, meaning that we can use the mediocre life as a stepping stone and support the culture of mediocre life in the beginning, because it is what fosters the great people. Bill Gates, Martin Luther King, and Steve Jobs all started as mediocre individuals to grow into the most elite. That's the mechanism. The problem with society is that people believe that they can just simply reach up and become a billionaire in one step because they are disillusioned by the media, where people say drop shipping is a way to become a millionaire instantly. We want to diminish that unrealistic mentality and take people up step by step. First, our theme on identity. Opposition claims that like people lose identities and they want to turn unique, they can't become engineers, right? First, I want to make clear that people are not going to be the absolute minimum, because that means it's minimum. That's not mediocre. Rather, mediocre means for sometimes to reach for extra things like a promotion, just not always. Then we tell you it's problematic that people try to be unique by pursuing uniqueness and extremely ambitious goals for a number of reasons. First, it is unrealistic, meaning that really for the majority, it's not possible. Hence, it's extremely unproductive to pursue things that cannot be reached from the get-go. You're wasting your time and your life. Second, these ambitions are extremely rampant in society because of social media. The media constantly tells young people to change their ways and be the same as this dropshipping guy who instantly earns millions, right? This delusions people, so there is a lack of mediocre individuals right now. Third, when you try to be unique, you are not improving upon yourself. You are putting yourself into a constant cycle of wondering what is going on, who are you, what kind of job you take, what kinds of business you do. I think that itself is very unproductive. I'll accept it later. Then, thirdly, what the magnitude comparative is the following. First, you can be whatever you want. You can be an engineer or whatever you want in the free time after you use mediocre life as a stepping stone. Your career and your financial and social stability is the most important, because if you don't have the basics, then you can't reach for the extra things, right? Then there are designated time periods you can attain that. When you're 40, you can become an entrepreneur. When you're 20, you can't get a college degree. Right now, people don't even get college degrees because influencers are like, don't go to college. College is a scam. And they end up not going to college and trying to be an entrepreneur and failing their life and failing everything. That's extremely harmful. And we tell you that's just outrage. I'll accept your POI, yeah.
If mediocrity is so great, why are you debating this motion to win JWSDC?
Because the thing with mediocrity is that it depends on standards. I'm gonna explain this. I'll explain it in this theme, right? Second, on the choice of individuals. First, Sean says that there's going to be no innovation. First, this is not true. Again, this response to your POI, we tell you that the standard of mediocre applies to each field and each individual. Meaning that you can be a mediocre brain surgeon or a mediocre engineer that makes tech and devices. So this is not mutually exclusive. Compared to pros, we're mediocre, right? Again, replying to your POI. Second, the problem with only going for innovation is that it is extremely risky and it only works for a few people. And because only a few can succeed since it requires so many things. The model makes is that everybody can innovate, which accentuates the problem of unrealistic goals and what now we wanted to solve. Third, then this failure cannot be recovered from for two reasons. First, building stuff and being an entrepreneur has its mental toll and burnout, which lasts extremely long term. Second, it has a financial toll, right? You often go into bed, you often get scammed, you often get wrong investors, and a lot of things can happen, especially if you're inexperienced and disillusioned by the media. There's no model coming from their side proving how people can suddenly become engineers and entrepreneurs like millions of people instead of being common people like we tell you. Then why are people not rational enough to set proper goals? First, they're naturally impulsive and base their decisions on short-term sides because that's their innate thing, right? Why do they punch each other? That's because they're impulsive. Second, your view of rationality is then shaded by the media because these people are exposed to the media every day. So the next speaker cannot come out and say people are rational enough to not be persuaded by the media because media happens to them every day. That's the preemptive we take. Furthermore, these people are promised things that seem so realistic because content creators show their money, show their cars and whatnot. Hence, disillusionment is what has people not going to colleges, ruins their lives, because long-term harm. We hate that. More than proud to propose.
And thanks again, Prop, for that final speech. I'll now take second opposition.
Am I both audible and visible to all speakers and judges?
Yes.
Okay. POI is verbally pronouns he, him, but then you can call me any pronouns. That being said, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. They live to survive, we live to live. I'm gonna do 3 things in this speech. Number 1, I'm gonna give 4 layers of clarification of what the previous speaker just missed. Number 2, I'm gonna clash on the point about just the normal, the middle class people. And third, I'm going to engage on society and how we win on that, even if we lose out on everything. First, let's go on clarification. First, I want to point out that mediocrity doesn't mean that people will strive. I want to point out that mediocrity literally means, and you can check this in the info side, that people will strive not to succeed nor fail. That means if COVID tests were just cost too much, it wouldn't happen on their side of the house because it would cost too much. If you fail, that means you wouldn't do it because you support mediocrity in their side of the house. Second, there's a case shift coming from Jacob because Jacob explicitly mentions that this is for some reason a stepping stone, that after mediocrity, they'll suddenly push the narrative that people should start trying. If that is true, that means in the future, people can still fail on their side of the house. I don't care why this case shift suddenly happened. But third, even if this isn't correct, Jacob literally concedes that glorifications does rely on standards. We agree. That means if they want to argue that we harm those middle class people, if their standards they claim is different, which they do agree from that POI, then people can still see investing in a billionaire like company and failing as still success, and they might still fail in their side of the house according to their logic. That means this just flips their case because of it just contradicts their direct argument. Fourth, I want to point out the obvious that we are being judged by excellence, not mediocrity. Debating in Zoom, also not mediocrity. That's why we're very proud to be on side proposition. First, let's engage on second, then let's engage on the people. We tell you, their side pushes the idea that people will still fail. On their side, though, I want to characterize this. It looks like 3 layers. Number 1, you not striking up a conversation to a girl you have feelings for because you might get rejected. It looks like you not taking any AP classes as a high schooler because it might be too hard for you, might get stressed out or whatnot. It also looks like you're not even going to debate competition because you might lose. It's ironic how they're in the finals over here trying to win when they support mediocrity. It's worse when not trying because you might not be able to get a lover, master's degrees, or even a WSDC competition on their side of the house. On their side of the house, even if you fail, we tell you don't lose much because it's unlikely that success is going to make success. It means like making a multi-billion-dollar company. It's those that are small success that those middle-class people find as most important. Engaging more on how success rely on standards. If you are middle-class people, those include winning like a junior tournament, getting a girlfriend, or getting into AP classes. That is what middle-class people strive to see. It's unlikely that I compare myself with Bill Bill Gates or whatnot, when there's people around me that I compare to. For example, I want to get a better CPA reward than Sean or A. Those are the people that I compare of. Those are the ways how middle class people can still benefit on our house. It's okay to fail trying, but it's not okay not trying in general. On society then, the premise over here is that innovation happens that when people are taking risks. Number one, it looks like the COVID vaccine. Notice how the COVID vaccine had multiple failed attempts. On their side, it would look like where scientists don't do the extra test that they have because it just might fail. It looks like where they're demotivated. At least on our side, people got backed up from trial and error. It's not a process where you succeed at one. It's where you fail and fail until you succeed and just benefit society as a whole. Second, it's more like when, for example, like the feminist movements around. It's more like where feminists on their side house don't go around the world and gather together because they're scared of toxic masculinity. On their side house, if they support this narrative, this is what happens. Feminist movement or like other movements in general wouldn't gather around because of the hate and failure that they might obviously see. On our side, though, we tell you from Sean, society is not a 100-meter race. It's a relay race where you hand that innovation to the next generation. You trip on the way, you fall on the way, but you get back up and you fight and you get back up and you hand that innovation so it can benefit the world. The weighing is simple. It looks like a world where even if we fail on the individual scale, taking them very charitably, we still have that net benefit. Because on our world, sure, people will fail. For example, like those middle class people. If at our worst, if they fail, we at least make a bunch of innovation like movements. That means society as a whole, on top of those middle class people, we're able to benefit. That's why we take all the stakeholders in this debate. Very proud to be on side proposition, and we are trying to win. That is why we support trying hard and not going for mediocrity. Very proud to be on side proposition.
Boy, really? Actually, points. I'm actually want to hear the points.
Can the observer please mute? Thank you. I think second up for that fine speech. I will now move to third prop.
Am I clearly visible and audible?
Yes.
Thank you. He and pronouns, verbal POIs, please. I'll try to take one. Speech starting in 3, 2, 1. The main problem with opposition is that they believe that everyone can suddenly take risks and succeed. We completely reject that premise, so proud to propose. 2 clashes then. First clash on which side better helps the individuals themselves. Opposition first starts by talking about how innovation is stopped. 3 responses. First, we tell you that on a principal scale alone, the standard of mediocre also applies to each field, just like Jacob told you. But secondly, we tell you that people can aim for realistic goals under our side because they have a tangible definition of how it should be, since they can utilize this mechanism that Jacob told you as a stepping stone, right? But rather, third, the problem here is that it's really risky and that only a few stakeholders succeed in this scenario. The model and approach that opposition proposes is that everybody can somehow innovate. This is just proving on unrealistic goals and failing to solve issues that were originally supposed to be addressed under their side. And it's especially problematic because these are really clear, irreversible harms, right? Because 1, you cannot recover from mental and financial toll from just failing constantly and the amount of investments that you use. Then we see that it promotes the idea that everyone can just innovate, but then it creates a high risk that just causes more problems, which sets unrealistic solutions. I think it's also unfair for DLO to say that people will not develop COVID vaccines under our side because 2 things. First, that mediocre and whatnot doesn't matter if just everybody is dying, right? It's just really outrageous for Daniel to say that people will just give up on everything when millions are dying. But 2, norms change during crises. Situations are clearly different and norms don't matter at all to that extent. During COVID, all social norms were broken, including interacting and whatnot. Third, it's not office workers building cures, it's just exceptional doctors, right? The motion never says that we're banning exceptional people from working and living to a certain extent. Second, opposition tells us that people are going to stop trying hard in education, like getting a 3.5 instead of a 4.0. Note here that mediocre life doesn't really education, but it's really important to consider that you can use the mediocre life as a stepping stone for achieving high things, right? If you have a degree in nursing, maybe you can finally get a degree for being just like a pedicurian, right? Maybe you can get your degree in college, but you don't have to drop out and gamble to be the next Bill Gates. Third, we tell you that we bring more productive benefits to the individuals themselves. Why is this so? There's a tangible definition for them to pursue from the first place. This means that they can set tangible goals and they can go through these tangible benefits under our side. Just like Annabelle already told you, we aim for an A, not an A+. Fourthly, opposition says that there's no failure and that's bad. No, we're not saying that there's no failure that comes with a mediocre life. A mediocre means means that you fail to a certain extent, no thank you, but it means that you don't fail trying to overreach for things that aren't just really necessary. Sure, maybe we accept failures like just like losing out on a promotion, but we want to avoid failures like trying to start a new business and becoming bankrupt by the end of the day. Second clash, which side at the end? Which side creates innovation? Firstly, we tell you that it's just a gamble trying to be the next Bill Gates. A mediocre life doesn't mean that you don't fail. I'm not doing the tournament because I want to be the next Bill Gates. That's not a contradiction, right? Because it literally doesn't make sense under their side. Here, we have to realize that innovations like the COVID vaccine are basically gambling. Sure, we agree to the fact that working hard takes risks and trials and errors, but Judge, we have to realize that these trials and errors will just discourage them to even try and you believe that you will fail. In reality, people will just feel discouraged after failing once. They would give up, feeling that they're just a piece of failure and that they're not good enough. The mediocre life is just best for these impoverished individuals too, right? Because the problem here is that it's true that a part of the reasons why people are poor and suffering is due to structural inequalities, but we just say that the main reason why people are poor is because they're just unproductive, just like Jacob already told you, right? Because they lack efficient goals of what to pursue because they're not sure what their life should look like in the future. They feel an innate lack of hope and understand of what they should do as individuals and whatnot. Because we solve that, and because because opposition's main premise is that everyone can succeed if they try, I'm so proud to stand on proposition.
I think third prop for that fine speech. I'll now invite third op.
Can I just have like 30 seconds?
All right.
Okay, am I clearly audible?
Yes.
Pronouns he, him, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1, go. Here, we are judged by excellence, not mediocrity. Debating in Zoom, also not created by mediocrity. Extraneous rebuttals first, then clashes, then wait. They literally said from PM, we aren't trying to make people mediocre. What is glorification, Judge? I think that is the problem in their case. They just misunderstand the motion from PM. Going into clashes then, from first clash about social innovation, second clash about individual state. A proposition talks about productivity in normal life. I don't understand how, if you're talking about more mediocre people, yes, you have more productivity in creating more mediocre people. World-changing actions come from failure. They're just too scared to make those actions. That is way out of order. Going on to opposition case then about innovation. We talked about this. This was basically the main metric in this debate, right? I basically hear one big rebuttal that comes from Yoon Sung, right? How obligation drives motivation. Two responses: A, society needs to comply to this. Complete help is needed when the social norm is, oh, you don't need it. You are too scared, or don't take failure because that is too risky. I'll take you later. That's too risky. Society is not likely. Not everyone is likely to comply to this. Secondly, they say, quote unquote, mediocrity doesn't matter if everyone is dying. What? It's not just a special law that changes. Social norms aren't strong when they tell us everybody has different standards. Social norms are weaker and weaker when they explicitly tell us that everyone has different standards and everyone has different metrics about how this works. That is not how a social norm works. They don't take trade-offs and end up losing everything. Before going on to second clash, yes? What are you going to do about those disillusioned from the media?
I was gonna go about that in my second clash about individual state. I'll flag you when I respond to that POI. Going on to proposition case about more safe, right? Basically like totally more safe. How does your side create change again? I am really confused. Secondly, about opposition then, talked about helping succession. There's where your rebuttal comes in about how people are not going to go to school because of media false hope and fail. This is not exclusive. Media false hope happens happens in both worlds. And secondly, going and reaching for Harvard, that is reaching for greatness. Even if you're listening to even if like you say, let's take their best case where people actually get like disoriented by media. Even if you fail, you try. These good instances of this could be the next future Elon Musk. Even in a worst case, at least 1% of these people can go and strive for innovation, even if it was false media hope. So we believe that even in our worst case, even in their best case, this rebuttal still does not stand, and mediocrity will be less likely to fact check, right? So then going on to Wayne, right? First clash about social innovation, right?
No, I'll no. Right? Basically, let's weigh social innovation and individual benefits. Let's say that even if less people fail in their side, like let's say like half of the population less fails in their side. Why is our side so much better? Movements, the feminist movement could not have happened if people were really scared to fail, if the mediocrity social norm happened, right? Like, so basically, if you're scared, like you're gonna get fired because of feminist movement, you're gonna get divorced because of feminist movement. This cannot happen, and because society all agreed on this. Oh, we need to fight the injustice in society. That is how movements happen. For example, innovation. Again, like if Google executives weren't excellent, no searching happened. If no Zoom, this debate cannot happen. Again, solutions, right? Marie Curie researching stuff about nuclear things. If she was really scared about if she was really scared and then said like, oh, mediocrity is the best, this would not happen because like you could get like damaged by this nuclear stuff or something. So basically, we believe that a lot of innovation, movements, solutions to society's main core problems comes from failure and comes from not being mediocre, like the proposition case. We believe that we outweigh individual benefits, even in a worst case. So proud to oppose.
I think third up for that fine speech. This brings us to the end of the substantive speech section. I'll now invite opposition reply.
All right, so am I audible and clearly visible?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Team Lucky Bunnies may have been lucky enough to arrive in grand finals. Their uncharitable case and the case is mediocre at best. But luck will not cut it when it comes to our team, who are actually risking and working hard to take the win. So probably on the winning team of today's amazing tournament. So what are some game-winning elements of today's debate at the core, right? Firstly, no delta / societal change. We told you from the get-go of our debate that people are afraid to take risks and work, and there's eventually no societal change. There's no less innovation because people are afraid to take those vaccines. They're afraid to make those vaccines, to make those prototypes, and they're afraid to actually stand up against domestic violence. They're afraid to actually gather into a full-grown societal movement that actually makes any major impact and effect against the big powerhouses. So obviously, the instance their side tries to co-opt this and like by saying, oh, people won't be mediocre when they don't die. Oh, people will still pursue a good college degree. People will make their own standards. They have no delta. It doesn't fit their side. They don't have yet to argue all of this co-opting. Their side is to argue for glorification of mediocre life. And at the point where they make so much exceptions, so many like co-options, so many like ways to avoid this glorification, they kind of lose out this debate, right? And their case of wishy-washy slippery soap. In debate, you're supposed to take trade-offs. Their side's main downfall is refusing to take anything, and their selfish greed. So secondly, about pursuing unrealistic success like Steve Jobs. It's just like I don't know why I kept going on with this because it was flat for our first speaker until our third speaker, right? So obviously, Judge, their main stoker are all the middle-class people, right? I don't compare myself as a middle-class person to Elon Musk. I don't think, oh, I'm gonna become the next Elon Musk when I grow up. No, I compare myself to be better than those around me, the other middle class. For example, I want to become better than Abraham Shinryu, like Abe next to me, right? I want to compare myself with him. I want to become better than him, not Steve Jobs, not like Tin Poljic. I don't like want to be as good as Tin Poljic right now, but Abe, it's like a more achievable goal right now, right? So at the end of the day, their main stakeholder, like they achieve nothing. Before I end my speech and conclude my speech, I'll do a quick role comparison. Under our role, we still have people who work hard and still have people actually are in a better place than before and not in a rock and hard place. But secondly, even if they do fail, if they'll like be able to step back up and continue to relay raise of humanity, we still have people who actually make societal change under our role. Their side, first of all, it's really unclear. I don't know if they even have a world. It's like a really unclear delta. But even if they give them a world and like say they do have something, at the end of the day, their side of the world, they achieve significantly less change, significantly less happiness, significantly less chance to win this debate. So proud to be opposition.
I thank the reply speaker for that fine speech. We'll now take the last speaker of the round.
Am I clearly visible and audible?
Yes.
3, 2, 1. If you know, I know it's ironic because we know the debate, but they don't. Being mediocre doesn't mean you don't fail at all. It means you fail at things that are necessary, but avoid failing things that are unnecessary. It means maybe you're not the best at school, but you don't fail trying to make a new company and do a 50-50 gamble. Either you're rich or you get bankrupt. Question 1 about individual happiness. Why is a mediocre life something you can follow? People can get hope because they can live a mediocre life because countless people have done it in the past and they have formulas that they can look up to and a direction in life. A mediocre life life is the easiest to attain as well because it's the most common and there are the most jobs in the area. It's also the most available and easiest to attain, right? But also, toxic competitiveness exists, so the poor cannot compete and the rich and poor gap is exacerbated. The rich are extremely rich and take control of huge companies and whatnot. It's hard to make new money, especially for poor people. Poor people cannot compete because everything is so much more like disadvantaged for them. So they should take a mediocre, normal life. How do you expect poor people to compete under opposition when they're structurally and financially disadvantaged and make a new COVID vaccine? Some kinds of occupations are kind of like impossible to do that, right? The mechanism, once again, is that we bring productivity. The definition of mediocre is definite and tenacious. People understand what it means because it's constantly portrayed through media, and there are others and peers that are apparently not, I know, if I know, but you know. It's a tangible goal people can accurately pursue, right? The problem with people right now is that they're disillusioned by the media to be special and rich by following dropshipping tutorials and whatnot. In reality, you have to take it step by step and have appropriate goals to be productive that you can follow, right? People are most happy when they're not constantly stressed, trying to pursue lots of difficult things and whatnot. People are happy if they're not actually following orders by their boss, not to like spend time with their family, right? Question 2 on who brings more innovation, right? First, this is not true. Like our substantive speakers constantly told you, innovation can be achieved through tangible goals that we told you, right? We also told you that norms change during crises. Situations are clearly different and norms don't matter at all due to that extent, because during COVID, all social norms were broken, including interacting and whatnot. Also, it's not office workers building cures, it's exceptional doctors. The motion never says that we're banning exceptional people from working and living. Very proud to propose. Thank you.
I think the proper reply speak out for a fine speech and intend all speakers for a superb debate by all standards. You may cross the house.
Oh, thank you so much, but I won't.
Thank you so much for the debate.
Also, I got a message during the debate saying that, hello, do not speak among yourselves.